Hello everyone, welcome back to Hunting for Inspiration. So in this series, I'm playing through any video game, but at the moment we're doing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And as we're playing through it, I'm taking a look at all of the 3D artwork that's gone into the game, and I'm taking reference pictures of things that I think are interesting, things that I want to study or learn from, or maybe try and recreate at some point, with the intention of bundling these images together into a PureRef file that you're seeing here, and then I'll make it available to my patrons in case they want to learn from it as well. In the last two videos, we've been seeing an incredible amount of detail that's gone into this game and the environments, especially in terms of lighting and texturing. It's just really impressive. We're looking at episode 2 here, a really great variety, anything from dark fantasy to extremely ornate, and excavated tombs that look like photo scans in a lot of places. But let's move over to a new file and get back into it. So we're starting back off here in a very moody scene, and I'm loving the different kind of color grading we're getting, like really cool lighting coming from the top here into the tomb. The small statue perfectly placed to receive some of that lighting, almost looking like a bit of storytelling, like it's trying to get out from the corner. I'm noticing that a lot in this. They're kind of highlighting certain elements with the lighting. Even like particles are put in the right kinds of places, like in the middle of this lit area. You see the particles here underneath the lamp with the moths going around. They just put a lot of thought into it. Even in the kind of low resolution areas, as I'd call it, where not much is happening, it's still just like such a vibe walking around the Vatican City area. Even though it's set in World War II, it's just, I find it quite impressive. The size of the areas they've built here are kind of larger than I was expecting. There's a lot to explore. That means that we'll probably bump into artwork and environment design pieces that will fly under the radar, things that people might not necessarily see, like this, and from angles that are less common to approach. This is kind of cute here, like a little garden complex on top, surrounded by the more classical architecture. It's just a little thing, but maybe I'll take a screenshot of this from a certain perspective. I just wish the lighting was more top down, so we get the guy lit, but I don't know, maybe the lighting ruins that one a little bit. One thing they've certainly managed to achieve here is like an accurate sense of scale. I do feel tiny here walking around these large structures. We know that the Romans and onwards certainly use really tall doors as well. It's very imposing. And we're back into the Belvedere courtyard. This is a place we popped into in the second episode. And there's quite a lot to look at here. All of the World War II reminiscent vehicles. We had a look at the water and the kind of detail of the layering textures underneath that are impressive. I mean, these kinds of markings under here are things that could very easily be overlooked and just substituted for a very generic, like stone type texture. But clearly they've had a look at some sources and tried to create something far more realistic with it. I'm struck by things which are highly detailed but seemingly inconspicuous. Like, this is my regular pathway. I'm going to walk back in through here, but off to the left side here, a door that I don't even expect we can go through. But look at the detail on that. Clearly this must be a recreation of something, including the upper glass there. So I expect this is a recreation of a part of the Vatican building complex in real life. Let me take a quick snapshot of that and put that in there. But this is what I mean. It's out of the way. Most people aren't going to look at it. And yet, even still, it's an unbelievable amount of detail. Now, we passed by this in the last episode, but I just want to have a little look over here by the Mussolini poster because I'm seeing a lot of detail that I might not expect. Are these kind of like garlands? Yeah, with flowers and such along the wood. Again, I don't know how many times I can say it, but like the detail between the fabric and the wood and how everything comes together with just like the palish lighting. Perfect amount of occlusion between everything. Looks brilliant. A little bit faded and scratched and kind of looks almost like water damage in some way on the poster. I will take a little snapshot of that and add that to the collection. Another thing about brilliant level design is that we've got like such contrasting styles, but contextually it makes sense, like given the kind of environment that we're in and the time period, but I can't help but be blown away by the variety. Oh, another dog. See, in the first episode I really wanted to pet the dog, but I know that they'll be aggressive in this game. Still very pretty though. Whoops. Oh dear. Okay, here's another shot I like after walking into a corridor. Problem with crouching down to get lower camera angle is it has this vignette around the borders, which is not necessarily great. I like the kind of copper piping there we've got running along the top and the color of the stained glass at the end. Again, a distinctive 19th century vibe. Let's save that. And when I say 19th century, I'm looking at these kind of desk elements, as well as these types of signposts, lights with primitive cabling going along, and the copper-type piping with the introduction of electricity and that kind of stuff. Now, there are books I can buy in the game that tell me where there are things that I can take photographs of. Weirdly, this might end up being a guide for cool places to take references from. Vatican books, Vatican mysteries, Vatican notes, Vatican artifacts. Maybe Vatican mysteries might lead us to some cool reference places. Oh, this is a nice garden area. So they got a whole bunch of people, a guy seemingly trying to feed a bird. I love the variable colors on the greenery there, a bit of yellow and green. And it kind of contrasts over the brown of the buildings, which is getting a little bit repetitive here. So adding in those street lamps, I think this could be quite a cute one. Here we go. From here we do get an interesting view of the complex. Notice that there's some storytelling with the benches, they're not all perfectly set up. It kind of ties into this fact that they're preparing for some kind of presentation. Maybe Mussolini's coming to visit. I'm not too sure as I wasn't really paying attention to that, but you know, it's great environment design where you can look around and we can tell a bit of a story with it. We can tell that the wood is being stored under these tents and it's being brought in on these trucks. As we can see, there's a kind of living idea to the space.
Black shirts look tiny from here.
I actually got some points for taking a picture of the courtyard. In that case, I will take my own. There we go. So it seems the place I'm going back to now is a place we actually took some reference imagery from in the last episode, the Tomb of Nicholas V. It's a very interesting looking place. Extremely moody, with the light kind of creeping in from the top, so let's go for a walk. So we arrive at the tomb, hope I don't get spotted. Nice, so this place was very cool. Let's have a little reminder. So extremely volumetric, light creeping in. Got all these pillars here. I'm actually going to take a little screenshot of this, I think, because I quite like the wall to pillar style. Nice, we'll take that. And now I've got to find a way to get under it. Hopefully it gets a bit Tomb Raider-y soon. Oh, wow. Check that out. Oh, even the sound's changed. That ambience, creepy. So this is going to be some kind of entrance to the tomb. Before we do that, I'm just going to take a couple of snapshots. I love the creepy vibe of statues just kind of standing as if they've just been moving around in the space, you know? Again, it's a little bit reminiscent of the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, which is what I said about a statue in the last episode. I love it. I love the lighting here. This is an excellent demonstration of using shadow for artistic effect. Just that the way that the lights come in, and more specifically the way that the statue's been placed, the light is emphasizing the face. That wouldn't have to be the case, but it's just enough for you to make out the face while hiding like the rest of the body. So that's precisely placed for good effect. Even the way the church pews are placed kind of gives us this direction, like it's opening up towards him. That's very nicely done. So now I need to use a bottle of wine. Cool. I love the relief, style and detail on that. Nice texture too. Now let's see if we can find some cool artwork. Immediately noticing the curved metal poles here, part of the railing. Looks either brass or coppery, but the verdigris is clear on that. The steps are broken, heading up. So we are going to be heading down. Now this is a different style to what we've been seeing up the top. So let's set that fire there. And I'm just going to take a quick reference snapshot of this. So it's interesting, we're getting back into like dark fantasy territory, which I actually quite like. Again, looking back at what we've taken, it's interesting how we go from just like completely contrasting styles one to the other in this game. So I'm actually quite enjoying that from like an inspiration perspective. And also inscriptions on the floor. I wouldn't have thought about that. That's quite cool. Wow, that is very tomb-like in here. Cool. So here's Jesus. Let's grab a picture of this. And the texture here is nice. We've got a mosaic pattern, obviously very common for Roman styles. But now in terms of texture styling, I do like the ornate gold-like look on top of a painted fresco. It does have a bit of a medieval feeling to it. So I'm going to take a snapshot of that in a second. That's a cool detail. The wine set out the fire. That's clever. Okay, now combo, nice brick style in between the stone walls, and that seems to blend in all right, but I expect that will have to come down. Roman legionary statue with the shiny golden sun-like pattern behind it. I like that. That's pretty cool. There we go. I think I got it. Ooh, particle effects. Now that is cool. Oh, yes. This is what I like. Now that's moody and kind of inviting in a freaky way, as if to say, look, it's almost looking foggy a bit down there. Yeah, it is. That's a very like horror-like color, that type of blue. So we're going to take a snapshot of this. These alcove things remind me of Skyrim, like the Draugr like tombs and stuff like that. Again, so many fine details and items that look like they've been lovingly designed with a purpose, but oh, The dust and grunge is great. This makes me think about my like ambient grunge pack and how I want to do far more things like that. In which case, I'm going to quickly grab a screen grab of that because I think this will be useful as a reference. This feels like a labyrinth. Love the relief details on the side of that as well. Okay, now this looks quite accurate to, I've seen imagery of underneath the Vatican, there's like a mausoleum type stuff, quite ancient, Tomb of St. Peter, I think, and all that kind of stuff. But when you actually have a look at the images of it, the actual tomb areas do look a lot like this on the inside, which is actually really interesting. So I do think that the developers have paid a lot of attention to that. Isn't that the papal sign? Like, no, wait, did artists have to paint this in the dev studio, or is this taken from imagery? Like the vegetation details on the wall and all of that? I would love to know. Like, we're getting so many details now coming through on our reference board.
This place must be thousands of years old. Likely an ancient Roman burial ground.
You see, he said likely an ancient Roman burial ground, and like I said, I've seen imagery of that, and I do think they've kept to it quite well. Though, interesting, that object's floating off the wall. Don't worry, I'll forgive that. These walls are more painted, and one thing that's interesting about this, looking at it, is they even went so far as to make sure that the paint has like over-slipped. So it's not just on the wall there, it's also on the ceiling, as if someone's imperfectly painted it. Like, who thinks of doing that as a detail in a video game map? Mad. So I'm going to take a little screen grab of this, hang on. I will say, though, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise because Machine Games, who worked on this and who have done the Wolfenstein games, the modern ones, the attention to detail of all the artistry has always been brilliant. So I collect the art books for the games when they come out. Interesting, like, relief patterns broken down over time. I mean, this is really cool. I want to get my lamp. Can I throw it up to myself? I must be able to. Perfect. I'll go collect that. Amazing. Let's drop you. Oh, let's light that first. And grab a picture of this. See, this is the kind of thing I love. I just wish there were more games like this where I can just walk around and admire the work people have put into just incredible environments. Wow. That's oddly terrifying. I'm very suspicious of just walking towards something as ominous as that. Let's grab a picture. Not about to walk on any pressure plates, am I? Just drop you. And save that as a picture. Even the detail of like the faces and the reliefs up there. Then who is this? Kind of shrouded away. Face barely visible. Templar looking guys. This is the kind of thing I'd like to try sculpting at some point. We'll be closing up this one soon because I've got quite a few references, but let's take a look. Can't budge. Alright, so that'll do it for this episode. Looks like I collected quite a few things this time. Everything from these impressive attention to detail painted rooms to fascist Italy posters with details and stuff that will just pass people by that's like weirdly impressive and great pieces of detail for the time period. So if you made it this far through the video, put some kind of emoji in the comments, maybe a coin emoji. And yeah, stick around. Hopefully you find something interesting. We got like lots of stuff here to work from like lighting references and just environmental design. Like I said, I'm going to make this stuff available for my patrons. So yeah, thanks for watching everyone. Stay safe and I'll see you next time.